Hi, I'm Deborah Price, founder and CEO of the Money Coaching Institute, and this is Conversations About Money. And today I'm really pleased to have Megan Christie, who is a certified money coach from Australia,
Yeah.
who is uh, also a very seasoned financial professional. Megan's been in the training for a couple of years now, and I haven't had a chance to speak with you, Megan, in quite a while, so I'm just going to jump right in and have you share with us a bit about how you ended up deciding to become a money coach in the first place, because I don't think I ever had that conversation with you. So can you share a little bit about your journey with us?
I'd love to. Thank you, Deborah. It's so nice to be invited here and speak with you and see you again. It's very familiar. It's nice to have you on the screen again. We met in 2023 and I completed my certificate after leaving a big corporate job. I actually had a calling to find a connection to what other people were seeing in me was strengths that I could do around being present and coaching. And so I was a certified financial planner for quite a while, almost 15 years. And I really loved what I did, but there was something missing. And it was when I realized I was like, I think I'm at the point that I need to explore this further. What is it that people are really not connecting with around advice? Because it was always quite complicated and technical, and people really, I don't think we're having their needs met in the right way. And that was the start. That was the little gem of and what else is out there? And then I discovered that there are other certified money coaches in Australia, and I connected with them, Karen Ely, who you've had on the podcast. And then that's when I first did a 6-week introductory program and met you, and I was hooked. I was like, here we go. Buckle up. Yeah.
So you did a program with Karen first, sort of one of her coaching programs?
I did.
Fantastic.
I'd sort of observed for a long time that there was this concept called money coaching. But I thought it was quite, and it is in that professional development, life coaching aspect. And I sort of hadn't sort of really looked into it at all. And then when I started really connecting to the values and the behaviors around the work with my clients as an advisor, and I was intuitively doing it and helping other advisors do it. And I was like, there has to be something here that can train me in this. And so that's when I looked overseas, and I discovered you, obviously 20 odd years in the US, but Australia is quite new to this. So we've had financial planning, we've had certified financial planner, which is what I am, but just not practicing. And the behavioral part of money, the really good advisors get it.
Mm,
They
yeah,
actually intuitively do it, but so many are doing it without the understanding of frameworks of how to do it safely, of how to do it in a really, um, just a really constructive way to support people. And I think now this distinction between advice and pre-advice, I put this into the pre-advice. So,
absolutely.
so valuable. Everyone benefits from it. Even if you think you're really good with money, you get something out of it. And then you're ready for advice, or you're ready to do things on your own. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been my personal vision, is that money coaching would become something that financial service professionals would use as a wonderful tool to truly get to know their customers
Mm,
and provide a behavioral perspective before they started the investment or planning process, because of course that should inform, where you go, right?
yeah.
So since you've been trained, are you doing both now or?
No, so I have stepped away from certified financial planning. I still have the qualification. I'm still do the points, but I just am not practicing, and I choose not to actively because the behavioral part's just so critical. To me, it's like 80% of the equation is the behavioral and understanding yourself, and then 20% really good systems. And if you get that foundation in place, then you're ready for advice, whatever that looks like, once you've got your own, your place of safety. I still remember when you showed me Maslow's needs, the pyramid in the training, and you were like, well, where's money in all of this? It touches every single level.
That's right.
But it's not at that foundational level. And I think that's the piece. And I do still work a lot I still advocate into financial planning spaces because I'm like, we're symbiotic here. We work with you to have a really great whole of person approach. And I
Yeah.
think that's where we have to go as a profession, as a ability to support people, meet them where they're at, and really support them.
Yeah. And, the truth is, we're not competitive with the
No.
financial services industry in any way. We're complementary, and
Mhm.
therefore nobody should really be very threatened by us at all. For that simple fact, I think.
And I
So,
don't think it's threatening because it's interesting. I've some of my great financial advisors who refer to me in coaching because they're
mhm,
like, we don't want to do that bit.
yeah,
We really
that's
need you
right.
to be really good at doing that bit. So our clients come to us really a lot more prepared and ready. Um, and understanding themselves better is such a win on any level.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I work with people from financial planning, they're like, huh, that's why my
Mm.
clients are doing why they're doing that. And they get that insight and the barriers just come down.
So
So
you do a debrief with your
I
financial
do
planning people who are referring you to their clients so that they now have a perspective about their clients, why they are the way they are, and also maybe some tips on how to manage them strategically around the various patterns that are observed. Is that
very
right?
much. It's that care level. It's that understanding and that deep care around their client and mortgage
Mhm.
brokers as well, because again, you're dealing with people who are often in very stressful, big decision points in their life. And I'm like, well, that's how we come out. We come in around you, we give you that support and know that you can actually help your clients that way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's powerful work.
I'm always amazed because I didn't know until just now that you had stepped away from the more advisory side of the industry.
Mm.
I'm always amazed when I hear that because that was exactly my journey. I was also a financial advisor, did planning and money management for over 20 years, and also knew there was something more, but didn't know what it was, and there was no place to go at that time.
Yeah.
So there was this huge gap in the field called behaviors and emotions that nobody wanted to address, the green elephant in the room, as I like to refer to it. And so that's how I got started. I had to create something because nothing existed. But then when I hear these stories from other people like yourself, I'm just like, wow, the story just keeps repeating itself. Another
It does.
financial advisor planner, largely women, who
Yeah.
basically said, I knew something was missing and so here we go. But I'm
Mm.
still kind of amazed by how many people have decided to step away from the financial services industry. And it makes me wonder if that doesn't feel competitive in and of itself to some of the firms going, man, we don't want our people to do that because they might do it and then leave us. And I'm like, oh, please don't think that because I don't really think that would happen by and large. What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, I look at this like talent spotting, right?
Hmm.
So I've had incredible support in my career. I knew I wanted to be a financial planner early on. I knew I wanted to work with women. I knew that I wanted to be able to support because I could talk to money in a way that just made sense. People would have their click moment. They would just, is that all it is? That's all it is. Because you've relieved the fear and you've relieved the anxiety and the overwhelm, and you just kind of help them navigate what they already kind of intuitively know about themselves. They just don't know how to do it. And when I was kept on waiting for the financial planning industry to get it. I like my whole career,
Been
I'm
a
like,
long time.
I know. When are they catching up? Like, why do I feel like I'm the only one in the room who's talking like this and speaking to my clients and training advisors this way and saying, well, look at the body language and look at the language that's being used. And
Right.
that's the one time that that couple, she's actually the decision maker and you haven't listened to her. You haven't even
Yeah.
allowed her to be in that conversation in a way that's safe for her to bring
Yeah.
her and ultimately she'll make the decision here and so it was really I was just like, why can't people see this? And then,
Right.
and
Right.
by the time that I was in a position that I was able to sort of understand it, I realized it wasn't able to be done through that means. And that's okay, because we do really need really talented financial planners who are very technical, who can
Mhm.
do really good strategy, who can work with people in a holistic way. But you need also more around them. You need more scaffolding. You need that really good humanist, which I say is the coach, the
Right.
money coach. And you really need someone who can translate it and allow a client. So I've been working with a client recently, just even how to approach questions with her accountant,
Mm.
because they just don't know how to get on the same page, or they're so afraid to ask the wrong thing and say the wrong thing. And so it is that capability and that confidence and that cheerleader, and we walk beside them and help them build the skill.
That's right.
And that is all before they go and have that direct conversation, whether it's accountant, broker, financial planner. Yeah.
Yeah, more and more I am seeing, in fact, I'm interviewing someone tomorrow in the US who's created a very, very great model within a firm where she's the coach on staff. Everybody is aware of money coaching. The clients all go through it. And then the handoff is done to the planner and then to the wealth management people to determine asset allocation and blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
So it's an incredible system, one that I think needs to be duplicated,
Yeah, I'd
worldwide.
love to hear that, more of that
Yeah,
one. I'll look forward to. But I
yeah,
think that the journey is an education journey for like I'm in the advocacy and legislative space as well, trying to be at the table. And that's why
mhm,
my certified financial plan is so important, because I can be at the table.
that's right.
And
And speak to
I
both sides easily.
correct, and I can translate what people just might not understand yet. I think
Hmm.
it's just a real education gap and around and all the journey of product. It can't be solved by product. It has to be solved by people, and it has to be solved by connection. And this is where I think financial planners will move this way naturally as AI and other things become more prevalent. That's going to be your differentiator, is understanding
There you
people.
go.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, and
So
I do not believe that AI will replace us because there's not like a one size fits all anything in
yeah,
coaching. It is really being in the moment with the client, with where they are and what their dynamics are, which are different than any other person's, no
yeah,
matter who it is.
yeah.
And so we have
And
some job security, I think.
agreed. And I think it's just, again, matching the need, right? If the need is there, how do you meet someone and go, well, what do you need? That's it. No
Yeah.
expectations, no agendas. Like as an advisor, I walk into that room with a blank sheet, just waiting to hear what, and I would respond to that client. Same with coaching. And that's why others saw me and said, have you ever thought about being a corporate coach? And I was like, not my calling. I need to
There you
translate I need to translate money. But I also want women to be able to, particularly women, this has been my absolute
mm,
space for my whole career, is how do we help women feel ready, know that they can do it, have that confidence in themselves, learn the skill, because they are the best money managers. When you see
can
women,
be.
oh, incredible. It doesn't matter what income level. And no one says that to them. And no one says, do you know how good you are with money? Look at that. Look at what you've managed to achieve with not much. Or
That's
look
right.
at how you are. But often more money, we know, amplifies it, doesn't solve it.
Mhm.
And if you haven't addressed, and that's why I really think there needs to be a lot more value understood around really good habits early on from women, supporting families, supporting everyone in their lives differently. That is such a
Mhm.
talent. And so I really see that, and I flip it the other way and I said, well, now you're off and running. Now you earn a little bit more? Can you save a little bit more? Or what's your possibility? Can you grow it? And I
Yeah.
teach them that they can believe in themselves, that trust. It's just incredible. That's the part, right? That self-belief. And then they're off and running. So
Yeah. Well, and you're doing such an incredible service by doing that because so many women in particular have low financial self-esteem, as you know.
yeah.
And, you know, all too often, also women, when they marry or partner, will
Mm,
sort of automatically think, oh, the guy, my husband or partner, should be in charge of the money because that's what men are good at. And that's just a complete fallacy. So anybody listening to this, just know
Mm-hmm.
that there is no such thing as a money gene that only men have.
Oh
There's
no.
only human beings with patterns, behaviors, and emotions. And
Yeah.
the more that you understand what those dynamics are, the closer you get to being able to solve whatever isn't quite working for you
Mm.
and or maybe limiting your potential to a great degree. But once you can name it, once you know what that is, your ability, any person has the
Yeah.
ability to do much better where money is concerned. And not just with the numbers, right, Megan? It's also the way you feel about money, the way that you perceive it, the way that you either want to bring it in and work with it and or the way that you avoid it and push it away,
Mm.
because it's just not about learning to be good with the number side at all from a money coaching standpoint.
Mm.
So when you
One,
have clients where you've got the woman in, I don't
yeah,
know, do you do couples work?
I do a lot, and this is where I was just actually finding a lot of my work is around how do you frame conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always found this with clients, with couples, there'll be one who is intuitively likely to take the lead,
Mm-hmm.
um, rightly or wrongly, that might be the male. But I actually also think it's because of the resource drain that often women have, the mental, the mental load that is
Yeah,
carried. They're like,
yeah,
this is one thing I can give to my partner that I can trust that they hopefully will do this the right thing. Now that is where I challenge that. I'm like, you can't absolve your responsibility.
that's right.
You actually are equals in this partnership. And we work a lot around the framework around who's playing to whose strengths. How do you then have those conversations? Even
Mm-hmm.
intergenerationally now, how do you have those conversations with your kids? Because people are
Right,
finding their kids are taking um over being they're being over generous to their kids and not giving their kids that opportunity to find their own way with their own money. So there's a lot of that, like, let's just decouple this all shooting of myself and
that's
go,
right.
how do we both arrive at a place that money works for both of us? And I'm playing to my strengths and you're playing to your strengths, and we're talking to the same on the same page.
Mm,
And I find that work that just naturally comes up. Yeah.
absolutely. And, often, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with couples where maybe the wife delegated all and relegated all responsibility around money
Yeah.
to her partner, only to find out that he wasn't, not only was he not good at it, he was pretty bad at it. And I'll
Hmm.
never forget, I had a client who, um, the way the wife found out was she went and picked up the mail, and he usually got the mail.
Mm,
But this particular time, she got the mail and she opened it, and there was a statement from the mortgage company, and it was a foreclosure notice
mm,
because he had failed to pay the mortgage for 4 months and he didn't tell her. He
yeah.
was terrified.
Yeah.
And
And
of course, that turned into a giant fight and almost divorce
mm,
before I helped them understand that his fear was
mm,
so great due to his
mm,
own childhood dynamics that
mm,
he couldn't tolerate the conversation. I'm not condoning the behavior. Let's
mm,
just try to understand it.
yeah.
He's not a bad man. He made some bad choices, and there are consequences. But
And
it's so important for people to understand that people don't usually do these things
mm,
because they're bad people or not intelligent or anything. These are
mm,
deeply patterned. There's tons of fears.
mm,
And the fact is, she was always better than with money than he was.
mm,
But the innocent archetype part of her just
yeah.
didn't want the responsibility anymore. To your point, it's not
Mm,
okay to just turn it over because we all need to work together.
yeah.
Many,
Yeah.
many hands make light, right?
And that self-responsibility, you can't absolve that, right? And so a lot of the women that I do work with, once there's been a relationship breakdown, there's so much fear and overwhelm and panic. I've had many
Mhm.
clients have panic attacks on their first interaction around this because they're like, I don't know what to do. I haven't done this for a long time or I've never done it. Um, but to your point, when I've been in rooms with when there's been sometimes, and it has been traditionally men that this has happened for me in the client situation, they've actually gone, I can relax.
Yeah.
They have exhaled for the first time in front of a client, like in whether it was advising or as a coach. And some of them are very skeptical when they come in, and they're the biggest champions when they leave because they have had this revelation. I know who I am with money and I can actually talk about it, and there's no shame, and it's okay to talk about it. And I don't have to say that I know. That pressure to always be that responsible one or expected to know, they don't know just as same as and when they actually get that opportunity to go, I've got permission to just be,
Yeah.
oh, that is when the relationship really strengthens because I don't just have to fulfill a role. I can step into a place that we're both working as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And that is, as you know, I wrote the book, The Heart of Money, which is all about creating financial intimacy. And that's
mm,
what you find is that the more couples can start to work together,
mm,
understand each other, and heal whatever maybe happened
mm,
in the past, right?
mm,
That the intimacy in the relationship grows in all areas.
it does.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's really exciting. So I'm sure you've seen that as well.
And I love
Um,
that work. It's hard work. You have to be very present and hold space a lot. This is why I think it's a particular person that we need to identify talent to say, come and be a coach,
yeah.
because you do need to have a lot of capacity to hold space and know who you are to do that. So you're not projecting onto your clients. And I think a lot of financial planners aren't there yet. That's why there's a lot of projecting and
Yeah.
shooting from and hold back, open the space, don't have any assumptions, hear what the need is and respond to the need. And this
Hmm.
is where having a coaching framework so valuable to me because I know I know I've got the tools in the toolkit
Hmm.
and I can sit there and just bring one to the fore when it's needed, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a really great job. And,
Oh,
it's,
I love
oh,
what I do.
yeah, I can tell. And so when did you know? So what was the turning point when you finally just went, yep, this is what I'm supposed to do, and then you made that decision to make this your entire path? I'm just curious what transpired.
I think, as I was sort of indicating, I feel like it was the missing link and it found me in a way. And I realized like I loved what I was doing. I was still getting a lot of joy and satisfaction. I was in a high corporate role. I was actually a general manager at that point, leading teams of advisors and educators and
Mm.
still, but I love being at the front line and I love helping people. And I'm a real engine behind the scenes. I don't have to be up front, but I can really cheer people. And when I realized that, you know what, I'm naturally doing that and I love that, and the product and the technical is just not, it's not my happy spot. I just went, I've
Yeah.
done that. I've done that. Let's turn the page. Um, and the behavioral and why people do what they do, and so curious. I've always loved people. Like I've always wanted to know why people tick and
Hmm.
how do I help them make them, like, how do I help them feel safe? That's
Hmm.
just a natural, like I've always, if I wasn't a financial planner or a coach, I'd probably be a teacher because I just love that skill so much of how do you help people find themselves and live true to themselves and aligned with what's important to them and get everything else out of the way. I sort of say, you have all these options. Let's clear the path so you know what you want to do. And when that
Hmm.
clarity comes, they're never going back. Once that awareness moment happens around money and what they really find is important to them, not the shoulds, not other conditioning, not the patterns that have been showing up. When they really connect to what matters to them, gosh, it's powerful. And we need everyone doing that because
Yeah.
we'd
Yeah.
have, I think, intuitively solve a lot of problems if we had people listening to
Hmm.
themselves with money. Yeah.
So it sounds like you pretty much made a decision to go all in not
Yeah.
long after you finished your training, from what I could tell.
Yeah.
I
Well,
did.
we had very long lockdowns. Where I live was 6-month lockdowns.
Um,
We had, and I was running so hard, and my kids, I've got two young boys, and that school refusal was happening and sort of prep, like we've got
Mhm.
grade 4, like age 4 and 5. And I went, I need to rebalance. And I did a leadership course where I did the life wheel. You know, when you do the 8 quadrants and it says what areas are supporting you out of 10. And my health was 2 out of 10. And I'd
Ooh.
given everything. And this is where I'm a recovering martyr. So
It's a
I
good
would,
club.
yes. And when I did your work, I realized like I have very good money foundations, very fortunate to have the upbringing I had and the conditioning that I was exposed to and the realities of poverty in my generation above me. So grandmother's era, and also the reality of having to escape domestic violence in my great grandmother's era. So stories have been powerful through my family. Women had been really strong with money decisions in the families that had set families up. And so I'd had incredible lessons. And I realized that no one else around me kind of connected to money that same way.
Mm.
And when I realized I just can't get it in this other environment, it needs to evolve into this. I need to lead the
Mhm.
way and find my own path. And that's when I did step out of corporate. Very planned. I went and actually got a money coach just to test what was the journey.
Good job.
Made sure I put a plan in place, rebalance my health, rebalance my family needs, which was being present for the kids and then walking them to school and walking them home, which I'd never
Mhm.
been able to do. I had a very big job and traveled, and it was hard. And my husband, his role changed. So we actually had to rebalance the whole. So I went from
Wow.
being a breadwinner to not being a breadwinner to being more home. And this whole coaching journey and having my own business just fitted perfectly into that. And so I took the pressure off myself by setting myself up with a plan to go, well, if I could take this time to really understand it, learn the craft, build the skill and the competency, and then stepped into it. So there's a lot
Well,
there. There was a lot there, Deborah, but it was the
great
timing.
job.
The timing was
Great
right.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And
listened
now,
to myself. I had capacity to tune in.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
think that's when you get that space to actually go, what really do I need to design? And I don't talk about that wheel was really important because I need to design my life so it works for me and my family. Um, and it just wasn't anymore.
Yeah.
And and I talk about this with my clients, don't just design your life, design your day. It comes
Mm.
back to the micro moments and the small but significant steps, which is such a powerful exercise. What do I need to think? What do I need to feel? What do I need to do? Every day,
Mhm.
check in with that.
Yeah. Because it is really, that's one of the things about any kind of deep process work where you're engaged in change,
Mm,
that it's important that people know it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't, and even if it did, it wouldn't stick because change requires steps that you do continuously in order to break patterns and build new ones and new neural pathways in the brain.
yeah,
So what's interesting in your case is that you did the very thing. You didn't need to worry about, you weren't working on the practical side of money because you already had that down. But that's
mm,
also true for many of our clients. I mean, I don't have clients, a lot of clients that are not doing well at the practical level. It's usually the emotions and behaviors that are causing the challenges, right? So
yeah.
you were your first
I
test
was my
pitch,
client.
so to speak. Yeah.
And I still am. I'm still navigating that. Like I still will go, does this feel right? Is it working for me? Is it not? What do I need to change here? I just constantly in that process of listening to myself and I know when I don't, it
Hmm.
doesn't pay off for me, right?
Yep. Yep.
And like I realize also a couple of big things. One is yes, I'd had a very good financial literacy background. I'd had a very good foundational support network in family. I'd seen the realities early, so I knew early in how much I wanted women to be able to be at that table, whether that was the kitchen table, the boardroom table, wherever they were at, making
Hmm.
good decisions about money meant they had to have a voice and believe that they could do that. And that's the bit that really spoke to me is how do we help women be ready? Because it's protective, it's preventative. They can leave a job when they're not, like for me, I could leave a job that's no longer working for me, even though I loved it, just wasn't suiting. And I could leave, if you needed to leave a relationship, change positions, look after yourself, you can, and I've seen that resilience in my family, in women, my grandmother and great grandmother. And those stories just, I was like, I never want women to feel like that. I never
Yeah.
want that fear and that overwhelm and that sheer terror that they can't provide for themselves or the kids. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's the advocacy in me. And then I'm like, well, there's
Um,
system change and then there's personal change, and they both have to happen.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And wherever your grandmothers are, I'm sure they're very proud of you.
My grandmother passed away last year at 100, and I've got her money book. The one thing I asked from her was, I said, could I please have your book? She did the envelope system. So I've got a
Oh,
journal that's 25 years of her going, here's my age pension, which in Australia we have the age pension after 67. And it was the most money she'd ever had consistently coming in, because my
wow.
grandfather had post-war PTSD and all of,
Wow.
raised three kids without a lot of support. And so I saw when you have to prepay the dentist because you know that you need to have your kids go to the dentist, that stress changed her. People,
Yeah.
like in it intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, everything became about the stress of money. And she would tell me these stories, and I would be 7 and watch her go to her jars. Like, she still had envelopes, she'd been put them in the bank later on, but I saw that practice of really, like, and I used to go, wow, I don't want anyone to have to do that. And then when she passed away at 100, I said, Grandma, it was actually the last 5 years, and I started to capture what she was doing. I said, do you know I do what I do because of you? And do you know you are an incredible money manager? And she said, no one's
Yeah.
ever told me that. I've had so much shame my whole life that I couldn't do money
Wow.
well. So for
Wow.
me to address that for her in her life is one of my proudest moments, is that I could say, Grandma, look how great you are with money.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
I just got chills. That's a great story. Really
Yeah.
great story. I think it's really fascinating how many people end up in the financial services as
Mm.
it's like the seed was planted, as a result of some of their own childhood experiences. You with your grandmother. I grew up in pretty much poverty and um, saw my parents really struggle and suffer. And then my mother
Mm.
was widowed young as well. And
Mm.
man, it was just, there was some part of me that wanted to try to solve that problem for
Yeah.
others because I saw the pain and suffering. And I still believe that money issues are one of the deepest pockets of shame and pain and suffering in the world.
Very much.
But it's not
Yeah.
one that people feel safe openly talking about. Thus, your grandmother, who lived to be 100, had never spoken of it her whole life.
Yeah. And I've seen my other side was relationship broke down, had wealth, lost wealth because my great grandfather drunk, was gambling, lost money.
Mm.
And the doctor in that day said to my great grandmother, you need to leave this relationship. He threw her out of a car, and she had 4 kids, and they all separate, the whole family had to go to great aunts and separate places. And so my grandmother would go into town I grew up in regional Victoria, and had to go into town her whole life, this my other grandmother, with the shame that everyone knew her story and that they knew that her parents had divorced, which wasn't a done thing. They knew that they'd lost their wealth, which was shameful. They knew that their father had abused their mother, and everyone knew that he was, gambling
Yeah,
and a drunk. And so that story is what I grew up with on my other side. And then I had
yeah,
parents who didn't have a lot of money, but in Australia we had free education in the 70s. They got to go to university for free, and they made their way. And so they started at very young ages, not having a lot. And I said to Mum and Dad, I never knew that you didn't have money. And they said, yeah, we lived out of our veggie patch for the last week of the month because we'd have more month than money, right? But they never let me experience that. I never knew that. And so I just didn't have that awareness. It was only through the stories of family that I actually got that awareness. And then I went, well, that's my sense of justness, and that's my sense of like service, and we're not having anyone else have to go through this kind of stuff. So
right.
yeah.
I can really feel the advocate in you so
Yes.
strong as a result of that and your passion, right? Is
Yeah.
that what led you? Because you mentioned earlier that you're also on the legislation side. What kind of work are you doing there? I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, well, I'm advocating in rooms that, again, people are making decisions and around legislature. So in Victoria, just having the opportunity to speak to ministers, or rooms that there are people who are advocates and lobbyists in around female domestic violence, housing, equality around opportunity, all of those things. For me, the safety and security is where
Mhm.
it all fits into that. If you don't have housing access, if you don't have the ability to have a safe place, um, it doesn't actually matter what you earn. I'm a real believer that you can actually find a way to make it work for you. And some of the best money managers I said don't earn a lot. Like I've supported aged care workers, childcare workers, um, early educators and nurses a lot in my career, and part-time casual workers, but my God, do they know how to do that well? And they're the
Mhm.
salt of the earth, right? Like they're the people when
Mm.
COVID happened, they were the frontline staff who kept
That's
everything
right.
going. And I really, if you have that support around people so they're not so stressed that they're impacting their, like in my story, my own family
Mm.
story, if you're not living like that stress, you start to thrive in whatever you are passionate and skilled at. You can find a way. It's just that
Mhm.
base level of stress that we need people not to be sitting in. And so, yeah, the legislation, and we've got an opportunity in Australia. We have community independent um, members of parliament who have been voted by their community, not just a one party or two party. We don't have just the two-party system.
Right.
We
Right.
have an opportunity to get people in who can represent their community, not just the interest groups, right? And they come in and actually talk to people and hear those. And I've been supporting volunteering in that space as well, just to make sure that, you know, yeah, we're getting good outcomes. Um,
Mm.
and I think back to the time when women got the vote. In Australia, women got the vote for the first time. We were the first in the world. And
Oh, I
my,
didn't know that.
yeah, actually, the first Australian person ever in the White House in the US was an Australian called Vida Goldstein, who was about getting the women got the vote in 1901. And it took them 30 years. And it took them actually saying, well, we're paying taxes, earning income. Why aren't our voices at the table? Why aren't we having, and it was around protecting women who were at the face of poverty so that they had options, that really then led to having a voice. And I just think
Mhm.
that hasn't changed. It
Well,
sadly hasn't changed. And
sadly, it's not
yeah,
changed nearly enough.
no,
And I also believe that to some extent, women really do need to learn to advocate for themselves more
yeah,
because we can't always be there for everybody.
no.
And so I'll just sort of plant that seed that there should be some sort of, I actually do something called financial advocacy. It's not a
Mm,
piece that I train, but it's something that I do because I think that it's really important that somebody who, let's say, you have an advisor, you've had a financial plan, and it's been sort of running on, the same way forever, and the person hardly ever even looks at it, may only occasionally meet with their advisor or planner. And
mm,
so they're fairly in the dark in terms of what's going on, which is dangerous, I think.
mm, mm-hmm.
And because their advisors don't really understand their emotional or behavioral dynamics, I come in as an advocate. I can see you doing this, by the way. And I
Mm,
just say, look, I want to take a look under the hood here,
mm,
right? I'm here to support you. I'm here to support my client. But let's take a look at what you're doing here and make sure that it's in alignment with who I know the client to be because I
yeah,
know them at a deeper level than you do.
mm,
And that's actually an advantage to you. And all I want to do is make sure that her voice is being heard and that
yeah,
this plan is actually still suitable for her,
yeah,
given who she is now. Because who she was when you first started is probably not the same. And so why don't
yeah,
we just make sure that it's all well aligned? I'm not I'm not going to tell you anything to do with your investments or the
yeah,
plan itself. Let's just go through this together and make sure that we have a good working understanding. And then I help the client and the
mm,
advisor or planner learn to
mm,
communicate also at a different level. Because
yeah,
you know how that usually goes is talking to the client not really getting necessarily into the deeper conversations, but really
Very.
just being their advocate so that because so many women, I don't know if it's like this in Australia, but I wouldn't be surprised, they feel
Mhm.
intimidated to even have the conversations.
What you've just spoken to is so this is the protective measures that I talk about. You actually need to know how to advocate for yourself. And so there has to be system change, which is the bigger piece of advocacy. But that can happen. A lot of good people are doing good work there, right? The pressure is there to change at system level.
Mhm.
It's women recognizing that they actually can do this themselves and they can back themselves and they can have a voice and so I talk about women being ready to
Mhm.
really, and the wealth transfer is real. It's happening. $3.5 trillion will go towards women. Women will hold more wealth than they've ever held in their lives, ever in history.
Mhm.
We haven't got the skills, the capability. We haven't been taught. It's a silent, I think it's absolutely travesty that we're not talking about this from a human level, about being ready. And because this wealth will come, it'll be like the Tats Lotto effect. And I don't know if it's the same in America, but for me or around the world, I'm sure it is that the stats are scary. Those who get a windfall gain or have a gift come into their hands, if they don't know how to manage money, as I said before, it amplifies that. And in 5 years, 75% of those are broke.
Yeah,
They've not been
yeah.
able to manage that.
Those are the statistics. 3 to 5 years,
Yep.
it's gone.
Yep. And so if we don't have this readiness in the next 5 years, by 2030, I think there's more work here to be done. And that's why I always say it's about good people doing good work and backing people in so they have the confidence to know what they can do and how to do it. It's building the skill and the capability. And unfortunately, financial literacy is still so undervalued and underfunded.
Well,
It's
and
not,
ineffective, I'll say.
and ineffective.
Unfortunately, the research is not strong for financial education or literacy in terms of its sticking. And the number one reason is that
Mm,
they're still looking at the symptom, not the real problem. Because
yeah,
most financial literacy dynamics aren't because people can't or smart enough, good enough, whatever.
yeah,
There's more going on, which prevents it. So all the literacy in the world usually
yeah,
falls apart somewhere between 6 and 9 months because the
yeah,
behaviors will continue. And then
yeah.
whatever that was that they gained is now lost again. So, and
Mm,
that's because people don't have a developed enough warrior archetype to be disciplined and consistent and all of that. So, but you
yes.
can't get there if you have a bunch of other archetypes that are running the show in the background that you haven't even said hello
Mm,
to, right?
yeah. And the power of once you've actually addressed some of those archetypes that are showing up when you're actually in your warrior and your magician and you're going, well, what would my warrior do? Or what would my magician do? Or how do I have more fun here? Because I've worked with couples a lot, and individuals, women who just don't spend on themselves. They're so controlling and so tight because the fear is running the show. But we need the education and the skill to be there, but it's the self-knowledge, it's the self-awareness. And how do I respond in this moment of stress, or how do I respond? And knowing you've got options, it's incredibly powerful. I mean, that's where I feel the work's got to be, is actually building at scale this level of readiness,
Yeah.
uh, to understand who they are first.
Well,
So,
especially given the wealth transfer and the statistics are so terrible in terms of being in favor of people maintaining the wealth long term. I
mhm.
literally just had a new client come in who told me the story of, I haven't done anything with her yet, but she had inherited something like $20 million 3 years ago,
Mm,
and it's down to nine
yeah,
in 3 years. And
yeah.
she just said, I don't know where it went.
And like you said before, if you're
Yeah,
not used to it,
all
you'll
the
push it
time.
away. You'll push it away. You don't want it because you don't know how to hold it, right?
And or, I can gather based upon some information that I was given that the inheritance came from someone who caused her a lot of pain.
Mm,
And therefore, the emotional dynamics associated with receiving that money
Mm.
are very loaded, very charged. And so that's when things become a little more dicey. So just know, everybody, if you're going to inherit money, the best thing you should do is get a money coach, because the
Mm.
truth is that the data is pretty solid.
Mm.
Um, 3 to 5 years, if you don't understand what's really driving you, it'll drive you, the volume gets turned up. Inheritance, any kind of windfall of money is when people start to malfunction at the greatest level. In my 25 years of being a money
Mm.
coach and then 20 years as a financial professional, that's when
Mm.
things go badly, because the
Yeah.
emotional dynamics will make everything else more complicated. And when people don't know what that is, it's either you're going to learn to manage that or it's going to manage you. I wouldn't choose that second option if I were
No,
you. Not going to
no,
work out,
no.
and it's sad. It's really tragic.
Very sad. Yeah, there's a lot of hurt and pain that comes, and a lot of the transfer has expectations. It's the hidden expectations around that money and how it should be spent or used. It's the shoulding, right? We just need that whole farewell shoulding.
Yeah, not to mention the other family dynamics that come along with that,
Oh,
sibling rivalries and
yeah,
jealousies, and also just unresolved conflicts that suddenly will just leak out and become something that fractures the family system as a
yeah,
result of the death
very.
of patriarch or matriarch, so I'm sure you see that too, I imagine.
Very much. In my own family, I've seen it. In my in-laws, I've seen it. In others' families, I've seen it. And in clients, I've seen it. It's the most stressful transfer because you're emotionally grieving often, or there's other layers of things, right, layering. Um, but that risk factor is so much higher because you do make really big decisions in an emotional state that uh, even if you paused for a little bit, even if that was their sound advice, just to pause and let things settle and find a way
Mhm.
through. Just like at a relationship breakup, don't make big decisions. Let's
That's right.
find a way to actually just status quo for a while, figure out who you are, get your balance, get your equilibrium as much as you can,
Hmm.
and go again. You can go again, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually, when I've had clients, for example, I don't know how you deal with this, but when I've had clients who came into a sudden windfall, death, divorce, you name it,
Mm.
inheritance, I usually try to get them to commit to making no financial decisions until they're done with the coaching process.
Yeah.
And I'll say,
Mm.
well, there's some things I really want to do. And I'll say, so why don't we do this? Let's put a fence around a certain amount of money that you need to do some things with because they're time sensitive or whatever. We're going to put a fence around it. There's your
Mm.
money. You can
Mm.
spend that on whatever you want. And let's just park this over here. Do nothing until you finish the coaching process. Then we're
Yeah.
going to get you an advisor and a planner. They're going to go that next step of the journey. And then you can start making decisions. But people often just feel like this incredible pressure to figure it all out at once, which
Yeah.
is, of course, not wise
No.
when you're in the middle of a lot of grief and loss.
Or they should know this. Why would you know this? That's the first thing I
Yeah,
debunk. Why would you
yeah,
expect to know this? Your
that's right.
parents didn't know this. You didn't know this. Why would you expect yourself to know this? It is really, yeah, it's incredibly important that you find that way to listen to yourself. And that's why, however it needs to happen, I think that support network that you've just talked about is the missing link. And that's why I do what I do, because I just love it.
Yeah, yay. I love that.
We need more who are doing this, right? But it is,
We're
it
working
is,
on it.
yes. Well, I love, I know you've interviewed a few of the certified money coaches in Australia, and there's a really good network and collaboration that's going on. And this is where I really enjoy it as well. It's actually like, how do we make this bigger? How do we make this more impactful at scale? And yeah, that's really powerful when you come together with like-minded people. Um, mm,
Well, I'm hoping next year to come to Sydney,
mm,
probably Sydney, maybe might go to the Gold Coast for a while too, but to do something that you guys are not familiar with called the money coaching intensive, which is a
Okay.
workshop that we do. And I've always considered it just a Money Coaching Institute standalone thing, but I'm actually going to start training it for the first time
Mm,
because when you get people in a room and you do this kind of work at a deeper level, and the group gets to see just how common these dynamics are. They get to see that it's not just them,
mm,
right? And they get to have, a 2 to 3 days of steeping in deeper money coaching. It's
mm,
pretty astounding. And I've just
mm.
gotten very clear that at this stage in my life, I'm not going to be able to hold that for just the Money Coaching Institute anymore because I don't actually have the bandwidth to teach live very often. So I'm going to have to teach others so that they can carry the torch
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. And that's what I just view it as a really big education project about
Mhm.
coaching and behavioral work because we need a lot of people at different levels
Mhm.
understanding the value of it. It's not going to be solved by individuals. It's going to be solved by a lot of people doing a lot of good work at many different levels. From financial counselors, which is a hardship in Australia, to the good,
Mhm.
really talented financial planners. Having that team in place and knowing how in that gap in between is someone like a coach who walks with you, teaches you the skill, the life skill that you then pick up and know how to navigate a lot more effectively. Um, you know, single women, married couples, young people. I love working with young people.
Oh, too.
And that first 10 years of your career, you set yourself up, or you can F yourself up as well, which is why, like, the habits, that's my little quote that I've loved coaching into like high school students and university students. So I've been doing a bit of work there, but just it's really, and at an organizational level as well, I am loving that companies are becoming visionary and understanding that their people are whole people and that the stresses that they bring in around money are prevalent in every area of their life. We actually get 10 weeks of domestic violence and leave in Australia on top of annual leave. So there's actually a lot more
Everybody
care.
gets that?
Yeah, yes, it's mandated now. That's just part of the advocacy around understanding whole of person, right?
It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, because the productivity impacts. You have people who can't attend, um, to even address moving kids or finding homes or so this is the work that's powerful and it's coming. This is where women with money really make, this is why my bigger why is we need more women holding more money because great
Yeah,
outcomes happen for everyone, not just,
yeah.
men and the men who love them, but everyone in their networks. So
Well, and everyone in the collective society will benefit from that
yeah,
enormously.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
well,
So
I'm so excited to hear more about all of that you're working
it's a
on.
bit of a call. There's a bit of a
I
calling,
do,
on, isn't there,
you
Deborah?
are a visionary. I can feel it and see it in you. So please do keep me informed of projects and things that you're working on so that we can share that with others. Really,
Yeah.
that's a major part of the reason that I do this
Mm.
podcast is I want people to know what all people are really doing because, a day in a life of a money coach is not the same for everybody. You're doing
No,
what you're
no 2
doing.
days the same.
That's a, yeah. And, I love when people are truly visionary and innovative because we need more of that.
Yeah, I really, that's probably my calling is the next 10 years. I won't say my age, but I feel like I've got 10 years in me of let's shift the game here because the wealth is coming. We need to be ready. We need good outcomes. Whatever that looks like is needing to have women at the table making good decisions around wealth. So that's it. It's a bigger
Well,
calling,
I
but
just have a feeling that, some of us need to gather and have a Zoom session where we talk about this and find a way to maybe even launch something through the Money Coaching Institute that addresses the wealth transfer specifically for women, because
yeah.
it's also pretty big on my agenda, given how many women I know that have just not done well with that. And, it's not that I don't want to support men in this, because I do think that men suffer around this as well. And I love working with men. I think that the projection at the collective level around women and their capacity or incapacity is just so big and it's worldwide. And we know that it's absolutely based on an old belief system that and a mythology. It's not true. It's never really been true ever. And
No.
so we need to do more to
Mm.
not perpetuate that and project
Mm.
that out. Whereas men, I think their challenge is they've been told they're supposed to be good at it. And they're often feeling like, well, wait a minute, where did I get the tools to be good at it? Who taught me this? Why am I in charge of this? I don't really know any more than most women if they're being honest with themselves. Some men will just say it outright, and other men will just, you know, stuff it and give you the impression that it's all okay when we know that it's not necessarily the case, right?
You're going into my really big thing, which is what is enough for everyone. We need
Mhm.
we need to find our satisfaction point, and that can be different for everyone. Like I talk about what's your big number. If you had no other block in your life, what's your big number and what's your
Yeah.
enough point? And when there's a big gap between their real dream number, they're absolutely like, imagine that, can't imagine it half the time. But if there's a really big gap, it doesn't feel satisfaction in life is often diminished. Whereas if there's a narrower gap and they're like, oh, this does actually feel like a little bit more achievable and possible, satisfaction in life and acknowledging what you've got and how you enjoy what you've got. Oh, it's incredibly. And I think this is not enoughness and this scarcity of at a level. Like you think of all the billionaires who really could do with finding their satiation point, right?
They need money coaching desperately.
When do they find when is enough? And then you look at others who've got enough and they overflow for others. So
Mhm.
this is where how do we find our enough point collectively? I'm like, where are all the behavioralists in the world? We need this to understand what is our enough point individually to then overflow for
That's
others.
right.
Um, mm,
For a world filled with people who
mm,
need so much and have so little, there
yep.
has to be more people willing to look at that rather than, and the other thing is just holding on to the money, foundations that just hold on and eke it out a little bit. Well, I don't know if anybody noticed lately, but the world's in crisis. People are
Mm,
suffering. We should
mm,
be releasing more and more of those funds now, not over the next 30, 50 years,
mm.
because now is what matters.
Yeah, and this is where the whole models and like what is enough and overflowing. There's a company called Who Gives a Crap. It's a toilet company, toilet paper, but
I've seen that. I actually have some of that toilet paper.
yes, also I just knocked my table.
I
They have
love
it.
that.
Yeah, but who gives a crap? And they actually put 50% of their profits to toilet hygiene around countries that don't have that. Right?
Mm,
So and that's 50% of their profits, and it's been $18 million that they've donated. Like that is a successful business that's doing great work at the same time. So there's many models around that allows this to happen. But I think it starts with the self, it starts with the individual to then find how do you need to show up around yourself and your money. And then that fits into the systems of how do we then, because there is more than enough. We know there's
yeah,
more than enough. And it is actually finding that place of satiation to be okay. And I don't
yeah,
have to be comparing myself to that person. I don't have to keep chasing. I'm not lacking. I can find a way through that self-belief, right? Oh, we've gone deep, Deborah.
well, that's where I love to live. So,
I know. I love that anything like these conversations, I love flights for that reason, because you have these incredible conversations if you have a really good person next to you who can have
yeah,
these chats. So solve the world's problems.
absolutely. Which is why we need more women leaders,
Yeah,
because I think we think about these things differently. Certainly there are good men out there who see these issues and address them, but I think
I'm surrounded by good men.
lens,
Yeah,
yeah, the lens of women is different just because of the responsibilities that we have around, we're the gatherers,
yeah,
and we're the social fabric more than, anything, and we need to be more of the economic fabric as well. That's the
very
thing.
where the barometer of well-being is how I place it. If the mum and the not meaning just mum, but if that oxygen mask is on you firmly and you're the one who looks after others, everyone benefits, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it has to start with self. But you know, the connection between money, values, understanding why you do what you do,
Mhm.
it has to be at that level first before you decide what you do. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really simple, really simple. Um, but yeah, thank you for the work you do.
No, it's been, you know, I did not know when I started this what would become of it because everybody thought it was crazy.
Mm.
People were
Yeah.
like, "You're going to do what? You're going to
I
leave
still
a
think it's crazy
20-year
now,
career?"
Deborah. You've led for
Yeah.
20 years doing this, right?
Oh man, you have no idea how many people thought I had lost my mind. I had a very successful practice and I was a single mother with
Mm,
a 6-year-old daughter at the time. And but I knew how
mm,
important it was and
mm.
bootstrapped this company for many years. And here
Yeah.
we are. Still a lot of work to be done, though, and I'm really grateful to have you in it and to
Mm,
hear all about the good work that you're doing and to just experience more of you and your vision because I could definitely see you doing pretty amazing things. So I hope you'll continue to share that with us.
thank you. I will,
So,
yeah, LinkedIn is how you find me if you need to
well, I
connect.
wanted to just say, could you please share with the audience how to
Mm.
connect with you, your website, LinkedIn, et cetera, so that people know?
So I find people find me. I actually haven't had to put myself out there too far at this point. And I've been busy enough and doing the work. As I said, that balance in my life is really important, and designing a life that works for me and my family is front and center, and then everything else comes from that. But I am really in collaborative work with a lot of other coaches and organizations doing some consulting and coaching, and one-on-one work. People find me or get referred to me. So that's been how the best, but LinkedIn is definitely the best way to connect in. Um,
So your LinkedIn is
Megan Christie.
Megan
Yes.
Christie. Okay.
Christie, like Agatha Christie. Yeah. Yeah.
And then do you have a website?
No, I don't. I remember talking to this. You were like, you need to get a website. I said, yeah, I will. I will. I'll get there. I actually
I'm
got
still
too
going to
busy.
tell you again, you need to get a
Yes.
website. But
And
that's okay.
I got too busy. I actually have had one in draft for a long time, but now yeah, we're just about to head off on holidays for school holidays for 2 weeks. We're off to a beautiful place called Fraser Island or Kagari.
Oh, I've
Um,
heard of it.
Yeah, and it's a World Heritage listed sand island in the forest, and you beach drive, and it's amazing. Look it up. It's in
Mm.
Kagari, Kajari, or Fraser Island.
Wow.
But that holiday is coming, and then we go hiking in Tasmania. We're actually going for a 6-day hike
Oh,
in
wow.
January. My boys don't know what's going to happen. They're ignorant to that yet. Um,
Oh, what an experience.
Yeah, so we're just very much about living in the present and getting off tech. We take our school holidays seriously, and it's a tech-free zone for me and for our family. So
I think it's so important. You're really, really wise to do that when you have children because the technology stuff is sort of overtaking them. And now, I've done work in the treatment field and I was astonished. Now they have in rehab a whole section which is tech addictions.
mhm.
And they're signing up people all the time.
I'm seeing it in my my kids' peers, and it's hard because they forget what real life is already. They're living in a screen and a world that is just already, I mean, it's coming. We're going to have to evolve and adapt. I don't have a problem with that. Being flexible is my number one value. Be flexible, be resilient, adapt, right? Be in a position to say yes. That's what I always set myself and my clients up for. Find a place that you can just say yes to the
Mm.
things you want to, not
Hmm.
because you have to. And that's where like scouts and going out hiking and doing all of these things as a family now, while they still want to hang out with us because they're only in primary school. That'll change. And I'm understand that, but let's make the most of it now and be present. And remember, this is the memory making time, right?
Mm.
So
That's right.
um
Right.
yeah, hopefully build some little EQ people. My two boys are very EQ.
I'm
So
sorry, but I just have to say, if they're your children, boys or girls, they're going to have pretty high EQ.
and my husband, both of us influence on that. But yes, it's a really it's just a value that I've lived my life by now, and I've had the fortunate of knowing how to be present. And I think that's it's a forgotten art, and we need to remember. So
That's right.
yeah.
Well, and as you know, and as I train, I think that the most important thing that any coach can learn to be is present, completely present. Because when you are that, you're bringing the greatest gift that anybody could ever have. And that's a real honor, I think, to be able to be present for someone else.
Mm,
So thank you
yes.
for cultivating that capacity and for all that you bring.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so
And
much for your time, Megan,
back
today.
at you,
It's been a true
Deborah.
pleasure. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
No, I think I just would love to say if you have a calling to this work, find your way through it and reach out. We've got lots of really amazing people around Australia and the world that do this work.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and I'm happy for any financial planner and anyone who wants to engage at another level to also connect, because we need good people doing good
Absolutely.
work at many different spots. So yeah.
Okay, everybody, you heard that. Contact Megan, have a conversation. She has a lot to share that matters. Thank
Well,
you,
pleasure,
Megan.
Deborah. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank
Have a great rest of your week.
you too.
Okay.
See you.